Hi YouTube. We are recording live on Steam right now, talking about the updates that we have just seen for Path of Exile. So we just watched the developer update here. They showed us 2 hours of info about both PoE 1 and PoE 2. The next league is called Necropolis, so that was already teased with a bunch of other updates that they are bringing, but there's obviously a lot of stuff here to unpack. So we saw the entire trailer, and there's a lot of juicy info for PoE 2. I want to start with PoE 2 actually, because that's what got me most excited. They have shown a preview of the Ranger, so that is kind of my class. So at least one of the classes I'm really excited to try, next to the Hunters and the Mercenary at least. And we saw like a lot of the like reworked and new kind of abilities here. So these are just screenshots now, but there's a lot of really cool stuff with the skill system and these different combos you can do. They also showed, for example, how you can use WASD movement on the Ranger, not just on the Mercenary. And even in the Q&A, they talked about how WASD kind of like creeps into the design of a lot of different systems in PoE 2. So that is actually kind of exciting news, I think. It was a pretty cool preview that showed like, 10-15 minutes of gameplay footage here. I can also link that, and you can check it out for yourself. But I think it looks superb. The graphics are amazing, and well, being a bow enthusiast myself, that is definitely something that gets me excited. So this is one of the things I really want to try. There was like this LA event, like a Los Angeles event a few days ago, where they invited a bunch of content creators and they actually got to play Path of Exile 2. They also invited me, but I didn't go because it's just like an insanely long travel. And I was hoping to play the beta very soon. So I felt it was not really worth going there for me. But it was, yeah, there's like a lot of juicy stuff, I guess, that we can also unpack in the next few days here. And like we see some playthroughs of different classes and so on. But yeah, this is like the PoE 2 stuff for now. One thing that is making me a bit sad though is that they delayed the beta. So they said originally that it's going to be in June. That was actually, yeah, and then like a launch for December or so. That was actually something that they mentioned in my interview that I had with Jonathan Rogers, the game director for PoE 2. But now that has been pushed back. So apparently they want to start an alpha phase in June and then the beta in December. So they kind of pushed it back roughly like half a year or so. So I expect a release sometime in spring or so in next year. On the other hand, I guess that gives us more time for Diablo stuff, and especially the expansion coming end of the year would have kind of clashed with PoE 2. And I'm happy that there's a bit of more space now, but it seems like they really want to take more time to polish the game. So let's see. But yeah, there were like some cool boss fights as well. In general, the boss fights are definitely one of the things that also get me excited, besides the classes and the systems in PoE 2. But I guess we'll see when we get our hands on it and I actually get to play it. But for now, yeah, they've shown like a bunch of the updates, a bunch of the combat. It looks really amazing. Then we have the Necropolis League. So this is what's coming up next week, actually. I'm going to be playing it as well. So it starts on Friday. And it's going to be like right before the Diablo 4 Season 4 PTR, basically. I'm going to be blasting it for like a week or something. And then we're going to do the PTR. And then I might go back to PoE actually afterwards. But for now, the next league is coming. And it's going to be the Necropolis League, which is based on kind of like collecting certain monsters and certain corpses or spirits of monsters. And then you can like put them in these graves and you can craft items with that. So it's kind of like a crafting league coming after this insane like loot league of affliction basically. And you can make some pretty interesting outcomes here by kind of like combining certain effects to create exactly the item you want, so to say. So it's like very deterministic, it seems, and potentially very powerful by collecting exactly the right types. So you can, like, this is interface here, and have like this kind of like lantern, and then in each zone there's going to be like some of those spirit affected monsters or something like that. It seems relatively complicated, but I guess once you play it, we're gonna get the hang of it, and you can probably just kind of like start collecting a bunch of these and then put them together with like the right corpses, and then you can get the crafting outcomes that you want. So this is like a very TLDR version. It seems much more convoluted and complicated than that, and I am not 100% sure how everything works myself after watching this thing. But yeah, this is definitely like a really cool looking league, and there's also a lot of other interesting mechanics in there that they have changed. For example, here, multiple Atlas passive trees. So for people that want to play with different characters or different like strategies, or just like, respec a little bit here and there, or just have like, one day do this thing, one day do the other thing. You can now save up to 3 different Atlas trees, and you can choose them every time on the map device. So when you start a map, you can choose either Atlas Tree 1 or 2 or 3, and then you can decide, okay, this one I want to farm, for example, Expedition and Breach, and this one I want to farm, you know, maybe strong boxes and something, and so on. So you can kind of like customize it and change stuff on the fly. So that's a really cool change I think they're making there. Kind of excited for that. In general, there's a lot of like other small changes as well across the Atlas tree. For example, they are, you know, changing keystones. They're changing some of the passives. In general, they're making all of the league content much more accessible, so that you can really target the right league stuff that you want to farm just from the Atlas tree alone, because they're also changing how scarabs work majorly. So there's like some screenshots here with scarabs. I'm gonna try to find them. And basically, scarabs are much more diversified now, and they allow you to kind of like customize certain encounters much more. So here's an example of ultimatum and scarabs. So this is just like a normal one that gives you an ultimatum. And then instead of having different tiers, now you have just like different scarabs that are, you know, either the different ultimatum scarabs or the different breach scarabs, but they all have some kind of twist. So for example, here I can like more often do the trial master, or here more often get Catalyst as a reward, or here more often get the inscribed ultimatums as a reward, and so on. And this kind of goes through this entire system here. And you can see there's a lot of these different scarabs now in the Fragments tab. So you can kind of like target a lot of stuff like this. But as a result, I have also removed, I think, Sextants and Master Missions. So this is all baked into the Scarab system now, and this kind of becomes a bit more streamlined, basically. So that's what you're going to be using. There's also like a lot of other cool stuff, like for example, they're making Uber bosses more worth it, and they're adding tier 17 maps. So they look like this. There's going to be 5 of them. They're going to be like special maps that you can find, I think, when you do tier 16s. And those will actually be like another elevated difficulty level and have their own specific layout, their own specific bosses. For example, here's one of those boss fights. And they're going to be kind of tough, and they will lead to the existing Uber bosses later. So instead of having keystones on the Atlas tree, now you can find the fragments from these tier 17 maps. And apparently they cannot drop inside of tier 17 maps, so we can't expect it to cycle back and forth between tier 16 and tier 17 and not just sustain them forever. So that sounds kind of cool. I'm very excited for that. Here's an example of this. They also have like special new mods, for example, so stuff that you cannot otherwise roll on maps. Bunch of other changes they did to maps, but it all sounds really fun. Personally, I actually want to try to play hardcore this time around and hopefully complete those tier 70 maps and all of the Uber bosses. So let's see how that will go. And I think it's going to be quite exciting to try this new stuff here. Yeah, other than that, I mean, there's like a bunch of other like new changes, and well, here's a lot of patch notes as well that I might go through in another video, because they literally just went live. And this alone will take hours to go over. So I'm not going to do that right now. And we're going to see what else is in there. But there's going to be a lot of updates, of course. But yeah, this is probably the gist of it, I would say. It's just a short summary of what is coming. I'm not sure if there's like anything super big I missed. But here's a bunch more screenshots that I took from this. One thing here is also they're revamping the campaign a little bit. Not in a major way, but they are adding some fun little things here. This is a screenshot, for example, of like a Legion encounter they can find early on in like Act 1 or something. You can find stuff like an altar here, like a ritual, sorry, somewhere in like Act 2, for example, and other stuff like that. So you can get some cool, like little interesting encounters, maybe a boost to your progression speed through those encounters now. And it's going to make the campaign feel a little bit more dynamic, I guess. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, bunch of other stuff here is also like that they itemized a lot of the like meta crafting, or like the, for example, here's a weird Chaos Orb that was previously like the Aisling Slam from Katarina encounter. So that is now an item. So in general, they said that they want to move away from like, for example, giving other people your items so they can do a craft for you and these kind of things. So they're trying to like just make trading a bit less frictionless. For example, also some other quality of life changes were that now you can like shift, control, click currency, and all of your currency of that type goes into a trade window at once. So you can have like 10 stacks of Chaos Orbs going in there right away. A bunch of other quality of life features like that they have added that just makes everything a bit more smooth. But yeah, that's basically the main summary here, I guess. And well, it all looks really exciting. So I'm gonna probably be covering more of PoE for the foreseeable future, especially like, you know, now that we have like this Diablo downtime as well. I'm kind of excited to jump back in after not really having played leagues too much lately. And yeah, let's see what will come out of this. So I'm gonna keep you guys covered with more stuff. Hope you enjoyed this little summary, and I'll see you guys next time.